It's just another school day in the city of Tokyo, and Makoto Misumi, an average Japanese high school teen, seen in after-school archery practice. He is back home after practice, and in a few hours' time he takes his bath and reads his dad's new book release. He's a little tired and lays on his bed to sleep when suddenly he gets teleported into limbo, a world with different shimmers, stars and colors. A confused Makoto floats around the world and searches for any sign of his room. The god of the night Tsukiyomi appears to him and informs Makoto that he's been summoned to fulfill his parents' promise to give up one of their children to the goddess to be summoned into another world. Makoto asks him why he has to do such a thing, and Tsukiyomi tells him his parents are also from another world. Before they gave birth to him, they begged the goddess to take them to Earth, and in return they would surrender Makoto to the goddess. When he came of age, Tsukiyomi only appeared to Makoto to hold up his end of the deal. Makoto, after hearing all this, accepts his fate and lets Tsukiyomi do the niffle. He transports Makoto to the other world with lots of heroic qualities and powers. After bestowing all the powers Makoto means to survive in the other world, including magic, Tsukiyomi transports him to see the impulsive goddess herself. The goddess makes fun of Makoto and gives him her own blessing, which is the ability to speak any language except that of humans. When she's done with her evil deed, the goddess throws Makoto into the new world. As he falls several thousands of feet down to the new world, Tsukiyomi appears midair and holds in a float. He explains a few more things about Makoto's powers to him and then lets him free fall gently to begin his adventure in the other world. Makoto gets up and finds himself in a vast wasteland. He begins his search for civilization and wanders the wastelands for 3 whole days. Just as he's about to give up, he hears someone asking for help. He tracks the sound and follows the source to find Ogre Girl trapped and about to be eaten by a 2-headed monster. Makoto rushes and effortlessly defeats the monster, scaring and saving the orc in the process, who tries to escape him. Makoto blocks her, introduces himself, enormouses her fear of his powers and calms her down. When she's settled, the orc introduces herself as Emma and tells him about her sad life. It turns out she's to be offered as a sacrifice to the great dragon. Makoto notices the nice aura around her and decides to save her from being sacrificed before following her to her settlement. There, Makoto was given food, but he munches like a crocodile on steroids. Emma makes sure to serve him more food. While eating his meat, Makoto notices Emma using a levitation spell to transport things around. He asked her about it and she tells him it's just magic. Makoto then asks her to teach him magic and she agrees once he's done eating. Emma takes Makoto to a spot and teaches him how to create a fireball. She does her demonstration and asks Makoto to try it out. When he does, he produces the largest fireball that creates a dent in their cave. Emma measures his magic level afterwards and gets disappointed as it measures level 1. The following day, Makoto leaves the orcs after writing a letter to Emma to search for and defeat the great dragon so Emma doesn't have to sacrifice again. He treads through the wastelands and takes a little rest before continuing on his journey. He then tests out his magic again and summons a flaming arrow and a bow. Then he shoots a fiery arrow at one of the great dragon altars, destroying the worshippers. There, the worst worshippers meet their demise and a red mist appears after they're gone. Just then the great dragon Shen appears to fight Makoto. However, Makoto, who's already seen through most of the attacks, dodges them all and beats down the dragon with a series of insane punches. After getting enough punches for the day, Shen puts Makoto in his infamous memory box and takes a peek at Makoto's memories. She spectates the time when Makoto shriveled in his pants as a girl crushing on him Hasagawa asked him out. Shin gets a look at Makoto's other juicy memories. Makoto realizes he's inside illusion and snaps himself back to reality. He gets a more refined understanding of his powers and creates a zone around him where only he can manipulate. He uses this power to break himself out of Shen's zone and prepares for round 2. Shen curls up and begs him for a ceasefire. When Makoto accepts, she then asks to form a contract with him. Makoto takes a few minutes to think about it, but Shen's persuasion makes him accept the terms and conditions. In a matter of minutes, Shen signs a contract with Makoto and becomes his servant. This time she transforms into a beautiful girl with good bodily features. After getting Shen on his side, Makoto asks her why she's taking a human form. She tells him it's because he won her fair and square in their fight. The rules mandate the loser to take on the form of their new master after the contract is formed. After some small talk, Shen asks her master if she could take him somewhere. Makoto gives her his permission and she transports both of them into a demi-plane using a mist portal. On getting inside the plane, both Shen, the creator of the plane, and Makoto get confused as the demi-plane is supposed to be dark and unsightly compared to the bright evergreen land it turned out to be. The duo try out some fruits and enjoy the landscape. After sightseeing the beautiful demi-plane, Makoto tells Shen to take them back to the land of the orcs to clear up the misunderstanding they had with them. Shen transports herself and Makoto back to the real world and finds Emma running towards them. Apparently she was rushing to come and warn Makoto of fighting the dragon. When she finds out he's already defeated the dragon, she faints from happiness. That night the villagers throw a huge party to celebrate Makoto's victory over Shen the great dragon. Shen is seen drinking excessive amounts of ale. As she discusses something with one of the orcs there, at one point in their discussion she asked the orc if they would like to come to live in their fertile demi-plane lands. The following morning the orcs all packed their belongings and get ready to leave their lands for the good land in the demi-plane. Makoto finds out too late and confronts his servant for going behind his back and bringing the orcs along with them. However, Shen divides herself into another younger fragment and argues with her master together. With the help of the orcs she manages to convince Makoto to accept the deal. When he does, she transports all the orcs on the land of her demi-plane. Almost as soon as they get there, the orcs begin building another settlement in the rich lands of the demi-plane. Several days later, while Makoto practices his magic elements, Shen takes a dive into his memories to watch a historical drama movie. Makoto notices her getting too excited about his memories and stops her from doing so. Shen thinks long and hard about what to do and comes up with a way to threaten her master into letting her watch the things in his head play out. After he agrees to let her watch and gets bored and decides to step out and look for materials she'll need to make a TV, so she can watch easily. When she's out, Makoto checks a memory about his parents and promises to follow the path they both follow to eternity. Just outside the outskirts of the orc settlement, a dwarf gets chased and attacked by the black disaster spider. Makoto finds two orcs having trouble cutting down a large tree. He steps in and uses his powers to slash the tree in half before handing it over to the orcs. He then heals the wounds of one of the orcs and continues his journey. Up next, Makoto settles down somewhere to rest a bit. He finds his blood dripping and tries to heal himself, all to no avail. Just then Shen shows up with an unconscious dwarf. Makoto asks her how she got to know him and she says he was attacked by the black disaster giant spider. Speaking of the devil, the spider arrives a few moments later and attacks Makoto. Makoto's fear of spiders clouds his fighting abilities and he runs helter-skelter from the webs the spider spun at him. When he gets back to his senses, he uses his fire powers to cut down the limbs and head of the spider. To his surprise, the spider kept on regenerating and becoming stronger. At one point in the battle, the spider traps Makoto on a tree and begins sucking its blood. A switch flips in Makoto's head and he turns into the spider's worst nightmare. He burns the spider to a crisp and faints for exhaustion. Still, the spider regenerates itself and fondles Makoto. Shen arrives and collects her master from him with Makoto still unconscious. She somehow talks the spider into making a contract with Makoto. The spider transforms back into a human being and follows them home. Makoto wakes up a few hours later to find a strange, cute and dangerous new girl who introduces herself as the Black Spider to him. The Black Spider introduces herself to Makoto and tells him how he was healed from his wounds. Makoto gets very surprised and scared at the same time that Shen made a contract with a black spider without his consent. When he's fully awake, Makoto gets to see his people again. Shen and the black spider. However, the dwarf they saved earlier also shows up and introduces himself as elder, dwarf skilled and can craft noble robes and sacred artifacts. He explains further to Makoto about the curse he lifted off a black spider after returning her to her original form. He makes a humble request to Makoto, asking him to allow his people to live on their land in the demi-plane. Just as Makoto is about to accept without any conditions, Shen butts in and tells the dwarf all the conditions they need to meet up to the live in the demi-plane. The dwarf has no problem with this, so he sets off to get back to his people. After a full recovery, Makoto steps outside the demi-plane to search for humans. On this day his search is fruitless and he's called back inside the demi-plane by Shen. On getting back, Shen and the black spider asked Makoto to give them names. Makoto reluctantly named Shen Tomo, as for the spider he names her Mio. Both ladies glow as they love the names their master just gave them. Up next, Makoto presents himself as the young master to the new citizens of the demi-plane. His two servants cast a vote to decide which title suits him the most. After deciding to call him young master, each colony begins introducing themselves first. The dwarves present their chief elder, who introduces himself and pledges his loyalty to Makoto's rule. Next up, the mist lizards from Shen or Tomo faction present themselves to join the demi-plane. Thirdly, Mio shows Makoto her clan of alcheminoid spiders and forces them to introduce themselves to their new master. After the necessary introductions, Makoto ends the meet and greet. then rushes off the stage to continue to search for a human settlement. He's lucky this time as he finds a beautiful lady somewhere in the wastelands. He approaches her and tries to talk to her. However, the lady sees something else and runs for dear life. Confused, Makoto follows the lady to her settlement and finds a group of soldiers waiting to send him away. Makoto tries to communicate with him, but since the goddess made him unable to speak with humans, they couldn't understand him. Makoto rushes back to the demi-plane, cussing at the goddess for his misfortune. Back in the demi-plane, Emma and his two other servants reveal the reason why Makoto looks so scary to the humans. Earlier they tell him about the cloak of mana hovering around his body. To the humans this makes him look like a demon king. Makoto promises to work on this deformity and appear normal to the humans. Over the next few weeks and even months, Makoto learns all he can about human language common and even tries getting the dwarf elder to make him a ring to suppress his powers. The first ring fails, but as time goes on the dwarf craftsman creates a ring that can suppress enough mana. Makoto also learns to display the human common language. While walking he is very happy as he leaves for the human town the very next day with his servants. On getting to the town of Zetsuya, Makoto and his people make their way to the Adventurers Guild to register as adventurers. The attendant finds their dress weird and makes some snide remarks about them. Following the small talk, the attendant explains the power levels that the guild and their significance. She also mentions the rewards they'll be getting once they complete their missions. Now all that's left is to measure their power levels. Tomo and Mio both measure power levels much higher than 1000. Makoto on the other hand only gets 1 power level. After registering themselves at the guild, Makoto and his servants get to the inn around town to rent a room for the night. The receptionist tries to dupe them but soon succumbs to a heavenly power after much pressure. Makoto and his servants, after settling down in their rooms, get back to town to get something to eat. While in town, Makoto and his servants sees people following them. They wait until nighttime to lure out their followers and teaching a lesson. When night comes, Makoto and Mio pretend to be two drunk lovers so the followers underestimate them. However, they get shocked when a street kid approaches them to ask for help. Makoto and Mio are surprised to see a child roaming the streets. Mio rudely asks the child about her origins, but Makoto scolds her and gets closer to the child. The girl, who calls herself Renon, tells Makoto that she's on a quest. When asked what the quest was about, she cries and hugs Makoto. Makoto then decides to take the girl back to the demi-plane, not knowing that someone was watching them from behind a corner. Makoto takes Renon to his room in the inn and finds out that the little girl was working with a crime boss in the town of Zetria to free her captured sister and hopefully return to their home. At that moment, Tomo finds a group of thieves trying to steal their wagon. She catches up to them and executes all except one of them, whom she captured and brought to her master. Makoto scolds Tomo for killing all the criminals and sentences to a 1-hour lecture with him. Renon interrupts their conversation and asks for some food. Makoto gives her Tomo's food and also gets to see a sketch of Renon's sister. Makoto's mood changes after noticing how similar Renon's sister to his sweetheart back in the real world. Later that night, Mio returns from her outing and finds her master and Tomo peering into the memories of the criminal Tomo captured earlier. After getting her exact location, Makoto orders his servants to infiltrate the prison and free Renon's sister. They do hesitate to follow the orders initially but soon succumb to their master's demands after seeing his serious face. After they're gone, he keeps wondering about Renon's sister. On their way to the prison, Mio and Tomo talk about their master's memories. Mio gets jealous that Tomo was being able to see their master's memories so easily. Eventually they cut off their talk as dawn approaches. By morning, Makoto and Renon ride their wagon into town to deliver some merchandise. On their way there, Renon narrates her sob story, telling Makoto how she and her sister fell into the hands of the most powerful and arrogant adventurer in all of Zetsuya. Elsewhere, Renon's sister To explains the reason behind her fighting. According to her narration, she entered the wastelands and brought tragedy on herself and her sister just because she wanted to restore her family's honor. Just as she's about to zoom out, Tomo and Mio appear to her and break her out of the cell. In their plan to sneak To out of the cell, but they're caught unfortunately by Mills Ace, the most powerful adventurer. While riding through town, Renon spots one of Ace's henchmen. She ditches her ride and sneaks to an alleyway to meet with him. Makoto uses his locator spell to fish out the building she's in and eavesdrops on the conversation. Turns out the boss wants her to steal from Makoto despite his kindness towards her. Renon asks if there could be another way, but the boss tells her she has no choice. After sending Renon off, the henchman returns to his boss Mills Ace. He finds Mills in a face-off with Tomo and Mio and recognizes them as the adventurers who exceeded level 1000. Mills smiles and asks them to join his team, only to get no as an answer. Mills then proceeds to insult Makoto and angers the girls. They unleash a powerful magic attack on him, but he blocks it with his magic barrier. The girls get serious with the boys and pummel all of them to oblivion. When they're done, they find out they've already destroyed about half of the entire town of Satsuya. Rather than reflect on their actions, the girls get into another argument and decide to let out their frustration on the rest of the town. Together, Mio and Tomo both level the entire town of Zetsuya to the ground. Renon is soon reunited with her sister and has Makoto and his 2 disgruntled servants to thank. After putting the sisters to sleep, Makoto punishes his servants for leveling the city. He ties them up and shoots them back into the demi-plane. Later, Makoto mentions that with Shen's help, they modified the memories of the town's inhabitants to prevent future issues. A girl asks if the monsters are still in the town, but an adventurer says that Shen and Mio defeated the monster because their levels are over 1000. The girl is skeptical, and Makoto convinces Shen to go and train. Shen obeys, and the girl apologizes to Mio for interrupting them, as she thinks Mio is Makoto's girlfriend. Mio blushes and clarifies that she's just his assistant. Makoto notices monsters ahead and tells Mio to handle them. Mio defeats the monsters, impressing everyone. The girl's sister suggests collecting materials, and Makoto agrees. However, the girl and Mio give him a suspicious look, thinking he's being inappropriate. The girl takes out the eyes of the monsters Mio killed, and Makoto says he didn't want to see someone who looks like Hasegawa doing that. Continue and encounter more monsters. Makoto asks Mio to take care of them, but Mio refuses, suggesting he does it. Makoto inquires about their weak point, and they tell him it's their abdomen. Makoto focuses and kills them all with his arrows, earning everyone's praise. Later, they reach the town of Sieg. Makoto registers as an adventurer again and receives his card. The girl's sister remarks that he leveled up during the journey, and Makoto congratulates her. They distribute the materials they collected, and Makoto keeps the ruby eyes. They all feel sad about parting ways, and Makoto suggests having a final dinner together, which everyone agrees to. They arrive at the dinner, and Makoto is thrilled to find his favorite food. An enchanter challenges Makoto to an arm wrestling match, and Makoto wins. After dinner, Makoto tells Mio it's time to sleep and goes off. Mio is excited about sharing a room with Makoto. Makoto arrives and asks Mio if she's sleeping in that bed. Mio gets excited, but Makoto falls asleep quickly, disappointing her. The next day, they return to Akuu. The chibi version of Shen tells Makoto about the progress in Akuu since he left. The dwarf appears and has something to show Makoto. The dwarves made armors for him, but Makoto declines. He sees a suit and likes it, deciding to wear it. Later, Mio shows Makoto that her relatives are training to look like humans, although it doesn't last long. An adventurer asks who took the highest paying job, and a girl says it was a strange guy with a mask. Makoto wants to do business with a man and tells him he's level 1. The man initially declines due to his low level, but changes his mind when he sees Makoto's ruby eyes. Makoto asks why he wants the ruby eyes, and the man explains it's for creating medicine for his wife and daughter. Makoto agrees to help, and the man wishes him luck with the guild exam. Makoto is surprised as he didn't know there was an exam. He asks what he needs to study for the exam and is told he needs to pass 2 exams, and the book costs 2 gold coins. Makoto finds it expensive but buys it. When he looks at the book, he's surprised and asks if he can take the exam right away. The girl at the counter is surprised but agrees. Makoto takes the exam, which mostly consists of mathematical problems equivalent to primary school math in his world. The teacher comments that the exam is quite challenging, but Makoto finishes quickly and scores perfectly. The teacher says it's the first time someone has passed with a perfect score so quickly. The teacher then asks Makoto to draw a sphere from a box, and whatever he picks is what he needs to obtain to pass the exam. A writing crystal, formal abyss labyrinths, illuminatics, and howling fang. The professor tells him to obtain that or something of similar value. However, it's impossible for him to get it as he needs to be at least level 50. Makoto remembers he had materials his adventurer group gave him and hands them to the professor, who approves. The professor informs him that he is the first to pass with a perfect and quick score. After completing the exam, Makoto feels very hungry and wonders where Shen might be. Shen is out training and killing monsters. Shen shares her food with the residents of Akuu when an orc approaches her and informs her that Mio entered Makoto's memory vault. Shen rushes off to find Mio. Another orc asks what happened to Mio, and the other orc says he doesn't know, She only told him what Emma wanted her to tell Shen. When Shen arrives, she sees Mio translating Makoto's memories. Shen is busy, and Emma mentions that she returned secretly to Akuu and was eating crab in secret. She won't tell Makoto anything if she starts working. Mio tells Shen to start working, but Shen refuses. Mio says not to blame her if Makoto scolds her later. Chibi Shen is with the orcs collecting fruit. When they leave, she tries to steal a fruit, but Makoto appears, and she gets scared. Makoto reassures her and lets her eat a little. Makoto thanks her for collecting the fruits. Chibi Shen tells him that fewer fruits have been growing lately due to climate change. Shen calls Makoto telepathically and yells for him to come. Makoto arrives and sees Shen and Mio fighting. He doesn't understand, and a relative of Mio explains what's going on. Makoto calms them down and tells Mio to return Shen's memory. He asks Shen why she didn't contact him when she returned to Akuu. Mio explains that Shen was busy eating crab and watching series. Makoto asks Shen why they fought, and Shen says Mio treats her like a recording device. Mio says she doesn't like those crappy series and wants to see 2 specific memories. Makoto watches them and realizes they're memories of an anime his father made him watch and a series a friend forced him to watch. Makoto allows Mio to see those 2 memories. Later, Makoto returns to Sieg because he has to wake up early. Mio and Shen are with him, and he suggests they should give him one of the 2 beds in the room. Shen and Mio try to provoke him to sleep with them.
Lord have mercy. We must stay focused, brothers. We must stay
focused. But Makoto
focused.
gets angry and says he'll sleep on the couch. Makoto receives a message from the alchemist saying he'll help the man create the medicine. Makoto is glad things are going well and notices Mio and Shen are sleeping. The next day, the alchemist greets him, and Makoto tells him they need to meet the client. An adventurer doesn't believe Makoto passed the exam and tells another guy to bring as many adventurers as possible since he won't let Makoto get away with it. Makoto and the alchemist wait for the client. The man arrives, apologizes for keeping them waiting, and asks them to follow him. The alchemist uses his magic to create Ambrosia, and Makoto helps him finish faster. They finish creating the dose, and a butler takes it to the man. The alchemist finishes making more, but the butler startles him, causing him to drop the other doses. Makoto rushes to save them from breaking and succeeds. The butler informs them that the man is injured. They go to see him, and he explains that he tried to give the medicine to his wife, but she became violent and hurt him. The alchemist says it wasn't an attack. It was a defense mechanism of the curse to prevent taking the medicine. Makoto tells the man to take him to his wife, and he'll hold her while they administer the medicine. He also instructs the alchemist to make another dose with the remaining ingredients. The man is skeptical, mentioning that Makoto's level 1 might not be sufficient, but the alchemist assures him that he can do it. The man leads them to a room where his wife is. Makoto lures her out, and she attacks him. He manages to restrain her and instructs the man to give her the medicine. Although she bites her husband's hand, he succeeds in giving her the medicine, and she returns to normal. Makoto suggests going to see their daughters next. Makoto enters the daughter's room and administers the medicine, curing her as well. The alchemist arrives with the other medicine but stumbles and drops it. Makoto rushes to save it, and they proceed to the final room. The girl inside warns Makoto to flee but attacks him. He manages to subdue her and administer the medicine, curing her too. The man thanks Makoto for helping cure his wife and daughters. Outside, Shen and Mio appear, but an adventurer attacks them. Shen and Mio emerge unharmed. Mio remarks that compared to her master, the attack was nothing more than a breeze. Makoto thanks Mio telepathically for following the plan. More adventurers arrive, and one of them suggests that Shen and Mio join them. Mio inquires about the payment, and upon hearing the offer of 10 gold coins, she accepts. Makoto telepathically expresses gratitude for Mio's cooperation. A battle ensues, and Makoto dodges the adventurers' attacks. Shen doesn't attack, waiting for Makoto to say a classic phrase. Makoto recalls the phrase and says it, prompting Shen to join the battle and defeat the adventurers. Mio refuses to help the adventurers, leaving one of them to be defeated. Makoto stops the last adventurer from escaping. The remaining adventurer surrenders to Shen. She probes his memories and forgives him for his actions. Makoto asks him why he targeted Rembrandt's family. The adventurer explains that a shaman told him the curse would only give them a sleep curse to make them reconsider their attitudes. He helped because the spell didn't endanger their lives. Makoto understands the situation and tells him to go cure his friend. Mio demands payment from the adventurer, who agrees, but Mio takes all his money. Lime, the adventurer, later apologizes to Rembrandt, and though Rembrandt suggests Lime should offer his life as an apology, he forgives Lime and restricts his future adventures. Lime decides to quit being an adventurer. Later, Lime sits under a tree, and Shen appears, asking what he plans to do after quitting. Lime is uncertain and asks who they are and who the weird guy is. Shen defends Makoto and gives Lime a gift, a katana, along with a job offer. Lime is surprised by the generous payment and accepts the offer to work for Shen. Emma informs Makoto that there's an issue related to them. The soldiers have lost confidence in their training since they can't beat Shen and Mio. Makoto expresses his desire to see how everyone is doing. Emma suggests the orcs might be on break, and Makoto asks Mio if she wants to accompany him, to which she agrees. Makoto overhears the orcs discussing not wanting to train with him, as they know they'd be sent flying. Makoto realizes the situation is more serious than he thought. Shen arrives and mentions that the lizards share the same sentiment. Shen proposes an idea, having the best warriors from each race fight each other to demonstrate their strength. They begin to fight. A lizard attacks an orc, but the orc creates a barrier to protect himself. The lizard tries to attack again, but the orc breaks the platform with his attack. Makoto tries to contain his excitement but keeps a neutral expression. The lizard employs a wind attack, injuring the orc. It attempts another attack, but the orc grabs its tail, throws it to the ground, and wins the fight. Shen states that she's sure they fought to the death, but both of them performed poorly, disappointing her. She urges all races to help each other to become stronger. Makoto agrees with Shen, emphasizing the need for teamwork. Later, Shen and Mio register again at the guild. Comparing their power levels, Mio has 1500 and Shen has 1340. The guild requests a favor from Tomoko on their behalf. They explain that their best adventurer retired, and others are severely injured, leaving them short-handed. They ask Makoto if he can train someone to become an adventurer. Makoto agrees, mentioning that he knows a couple of adventurers who are over level 100. Shen takes charge of training them intensely. During their training, some monsters attack, but their attacks fail. Shen intervenes and questions why they're attacking head-on. She instructs 3 of them to attack while the alchemist supports and heals. Shen provides them with a strategic plan, and they follow her guidance to achieve victory. The alchemist remarks that the tails and venomous claws of the monsters are valuable. He accidentally pricks himself with a claw, getting poisoned. Shen returns to the guild and informs the girl that she left the group in a nest of dark tails, a dangerous place known as the suicide path. However, the group returns to the guild victorious, having defeated all the monsters. Shen informs them that they passed and are ready. Makoto asks Mio to search for the ambrosia flower. Mio agrees, assuming it's for making more medicine. Makoto clarifies that they previously used ruby eyes but now wishes to use the original flower for a better product. Mio agrees and inquires about Makoto's plans. He explains that he'll prepare the store. Makoto asks Rembrandt if he can rent a space for his store, and Rembrandt agrees but suggests opening it in a neutral kingdom, offering help from an acquaintance there. Makoto expresses gratitude and returns to Akuu. Mio arrives in the Tanaric forest with the group, but 2 girls are watching them. Makoto discovers that debilitating magic doesn't affect him, leading Shen to acknowledge that Makoto has become stronger. The other races in Akuu hold a banquet in honor of Makoto. Akina, a relative of Mio, can now fully transform into a human. She tells Makoto that aside from finding ambrosia, they tried various dishes. Makoto asks if her Alk race has become accustomed to living in Akuu, and Akina confirms they're very happy there. Later, Makoto speaks with the dwarf who crafts armor and weapons. The dwarf envies that Shen and Mio always accompany Makoto. Makoto asks if they feel confined living in Akuu, and the dwarf responds that they're content there, it's a paradise for them. Makoto proposes that the dwarf work in his store in Sieg, and the dwarf agrees, finding it fun. Later, the orc whom Makoto healed when he injured his hand chopping a tree arrives. Makoto remembers him, and the orc is surprised Makoto recalls. Makoto apologizes if he made him work too much, and the orc responds that it's the opposite, he enjoys being useful to Makoto. Shen and Mio are eating under a tree when they sense a presence, become frightened, and rush to find Makoto. Makoto is practicing archery and is startled by their sudden appearance. Mio approaches and asks if he's alive. Shen explains the situation, and Makoto, still confused, asks Shen what's going on. Shen asks if he's been practicing archery. Makoto tells her yes. Shen asks if he's been training all this time, and Makoto confirms that he has. Shen inquires if anything happened, and Makoto tells her yes. Shen reveals that he died multiple times, but Makoto is baffled as he's clearly alive. Shen explains that Makoto dispersed his consciousness into the target and then shot himself. Makoto agrees with her, and a tearful Mio informs him that consciousness can only be dispersed upon death. What he did is considered suicide. Makoto brushes it off, stating he's fine since he's alive. Shen elaborates that there's a limit to mana growth. No matter how much one trains, they won't surpass that limit. However, by dispersing his consciousness, Makoto exceeded that limit, causing his mana to continue growing. Makoto can't believe that such a thing happened just by shooting a few arrows. He asks Shen if he can't shoot arrows anymore, to which Shen responds that he can, as long as he doesn't concentrate. His mana level is equivalent to that of a goddess. Additionally, Akuu's world is expanding due to this growth. Makoto is astonished by all this, and Shen explains that Akuu exists due to a fusion of Makoto's and her powers. She warns that if the goddess discovers this, she might come to kill him. Makoto admits he saw it coming. Shen reveals that she'll eventually come up with a plan and asks Makoto to take Mio with him. Makoto agrees and leaves with Mio. Shen remarks that she never imagined making a pact with someone who could become a god. The next day, Makoto is out shopping for his store when a bag falls on him. A cat girl appears, and Makoto helps her pick up her things. Another woman arrives, commending Makoto for his kindness. He realizes he's in the red light district and the woman mentions her lack of customers and boredom. She offers him a special service, but Shen and Mio intervene, whisking Makoto away. They toss him onto a bed, and Makoto asks what's going on. Shen and Mio remain silent, and Makoto attempts to escape but can't. He questions if it's a joke, and Shen explains they tried to entice him carefully, which didn't work. However, upon seeing him with the woman, they realized he didn't dislike it. Makoto insists he encountered her by chance, but Shen doubts him, and Mio suggests if he's not satisfied with them. Makoto clarifies that he sees them as family, not in a romantic way, but struggles to express it without sounding cheesy, settling for calling them nosy. Offended, they tear Makoto's clothes, dressing themselves. Mio binds his hands with her spider silk, and Makoto, frightened, uses his powers to escape. Shen wonders if they went too far. Emma sees Makoto, noticing his torn shirt, and suggests he try the new armor the dwarf finished. Makoto heads to the dwarf, puts on the armor, and Mio joins him. She apologizes for the previous night, and Makoto forgives her but asks her not to do it again. Mio understands, and an awkward situation arises. Makoto suggests they negotiate with the race guarding the Ambrosia silver. Mio eagerly agrees, and they head to the forest. Makoto realizes they're being followed, but Mio distracts them with her powers, allowing them to escape. They arrive where the ambrosia grows, and Makoto remembers his sister. He asks Mio to hold his hand, surprising her. He clarifies that he remembered his sister, not in a romantic sense. They walk hand in hand around the ambrosia, but two girls interrupt them, telling them to leave the forest. Makoto tells her they're not bad, but Mio gets angry, and Makoto tries to calm her. The people who were following them earlier reappear and declare their intention to take all the ambrosia. The forest caretakers accuse them of being human thieves, and Makoto urges them to calm down. Eri attacks them, and Makoto flees. An adventurer questions why he's running instead of fighting. Makoto nullifies Eri's magic, and the other girl attacks, but Makoto repels the attack. Mio remains angry. Makoto and the others are running, and Chen communicates telepathically with Makoto. He asks if she knows what's going on, and Chen suggests she didn't want to interrupt his secret date with Mio. Makoto corrects her, and Chen proposes a distraction to allow her to use her mist and open a portal. Makoto creates a magical distraction, and Shen teleports the adventurers away. Makoto hurts his hand in the process and tries to reason with Mio by using his blood. Mio licks his hand, coming back to her senses. Makoto employs light magic to destroy the girl's weapons. The adventurers are transported to the Mirage City, and Makoto manages to get the two girls to listen. He explains that he came to negotiate, not steal their ambrosia. The girls, Eri and Aqua, take them to their village. They meet the village elders and converse with them. They learn that the forest ogres are the ancestors of the elves. Later, Aqua wants to introduce Makoto and Mio to her master, but Makoto hesitates. Her master breaks through the wall, shakes Makoto's hand, and Makoto greets him. Mio punches the master, sending him flying. Makoto asks Mio to investigate the master. Mio discovers that Aqua and Aries' master is possessed by a demon. Makoto asks Mio to switch places with Shen. Later, Makoto watches as the master grabs someone and absorbs their life force. The demon inside the master appears and attacks Makoto, but Makoto remains unaffected by the weakening magic and nullifies the attack. Makoto pleads with the demon not to kill him and assures it he won't kill it either. Shen arrives, and Makoto asks her to teleport the demon away. The village elders reveal that they had intended to execute Makoto. Shen presents herself with an elder, but he doesn't recognize her until she takes her true form as the dragon Shen. The elders kneel before her and suggest they should do the same for Makoto. Later, Makoto interrogates the demon. The demon reveals that it did everything to become a Grant, an evolved being surpassing humans in all aspects. Shen suggests that Makoto make a pact with the demon to learn new things. The demon agrees, and they start the pact. The demon transforms into a long-haired boy. Mio insists they teach him how to treat his master, but Shen experiences a headache, an explosion is heard, and Shen falls to the ground, bleeding. Makoto asks Mio to stop the bleeding and heal Shen. He also asks Lich to go with him to investigate the explosion. Makoto and Lich run, but Lich gets tired and mentions that he's not used to using a physical body. He suggests using his healing magic. Makoto agrees, telling him to do it where they are. Lich uses his healing magic, and Makoto continues running. He finds Hokuto seemingly dead and Emma crying. Lich assures him that Hokuto isn't dead and that Makoto's healing magic can revive him. Makoto uses his magic but fails, so he employs a nested Kai within another Kai, and successfully brings Hokuto back to life. Lich tells Makoto that he will heal the others. Emma gives Makoto an orc's necklace and points him in the direction where the humans are. Makoto arrives at the source of the explosion and sees several portals with adventurers on the other side. The portals close, but Makoto reaches into one and experiences the memories of a female adventurer. The woman arrives in Sieg, and a mist appears along with Makoto. She is frightened and threatens Makoto with her sword. Makoto reveals a short sword given to him by the orcs, similar to the one the orc who died because of him had. The woman attacks, but Makoto cuts off her hands. The woman tells him to leave, and Makoto kills her. He admits that it's his first time killing someone and starts crying because in his world, death is tragic. The next day, they hold a funeral for the orc and the shard of Shen. Later, Makoto renames Lich as Shiki, and Shiki likes his new name. Shen tells Makoto that now that he has killed that woman, he must be ready to become the king of Akuu. Mio and Shen start arguing about who has a stronger connection with Makoto. Makoto informs Emma that they plan to build a wall to make it seem like there's nothing beyond the Mirage City. The next day, Makoto talks to Rembrandt and learns that the place Rembrandt spoke of is filled with schools and knowledge. He asks when Makoto plans to go there. Makoto says he'll leave his store to his companions and go as soon as possible. Makoto takes off his mask and confesses that he lied. Rembrandt reassures him that he still cares for Makoto, no matter how he looks, just like how he still loved his transformed wife and daughters. Makoto tells Shen and Mio that he's taking Shiki on a mission, trusting that Shiki, a former human investigator, won't destroy the city. Makoto gives Shen and Mio a keepsake before bidding them farewell. They set off for their mission with Shiki. However, the goddess locates Makoto and teleports him. A girl named Sophia appears and attacks him, managing to cut off 2 of his fingers. Sophia attacks Makoto, and he creates a shield. Makoto asks them why they are attacking him when he hasn't done anything to them. Sophia tells him that they are not on the side of humans but of demons, making them enemies. Makoto attacks them, but the boy shields himself, and Sophia uses her sword as a shield. Makoto tries to escape, but there's a wall of swords, and he nearly steps on one. Sophia reappears and attacks Makoto, but he manages to create a shield. Sophia uses her ring to nullify the protection the goddess gave to Makoto, but he says the goddess didn't grant him any protection. The boy asks how that's possible since he fell from the sky bathed in her golden light. Makoto replies that he wonders the same, but he has no reason to fight them. The boy introduces himself as Lancer and warns Makoto to prepare to die. Makoto removes a ring and releases a bit of his power. He conjures a fire bow and uses the arrow made by the dwarves. Sophia tries to deflect the attack but fails, breaking Lancer's shield. Both are surprised by how strong Makoto has become. Lancer asks Sophia to return the power she lent him, and Makoto attacks again using water magic. Lancer creates a water shield, but Makoto manages to penetrate it. Makoto is pleased, but Sophia attacks him. Makoto uses his sword to break Sophia's weapon, surprised by the strength of the dwarven arms. Sophia embraces Makoto, takes him to the sky, drops him, and Makoto uses his powers to destroy the swords falling from the sky. He attacks them with a massive water arrow, but Sophia and Lancer survive. Sophia mentions that her outfit broke and she's naked, while Lancer lost a leg. She vows to find Makoto again if he survived. Makoto wakes up in a bed with Shen and Mio sleeping beside him and realizes he has his fingers back. Later, Shen introduces him to a chibi version of herself. She used the core of one of Makoto's rings, and her power isn't the same as before, and she lacks the memories of the previous version. Makoto greets her and says he'll call her Kamoi, since she's a little Shen. Shen explains that she was born with their combined powers and is essentially their daughter. The little Shen calls him father, making Mio jealous, and they start arguing. Later, Makoto visits his store in Sieg, and it seems like people are enjoying the shop. Makoto thinks about his parents and how he'd like to gradually discover more about them. Emma invites him to a farewell banquet, and Makoto attends. He thinks that the world isn't as bad as he thought, but Chiki calls him, saying something is wrong. Shen and Mio start fighting, and Makoto concludes that the future doesn't seem as promising as he initially thought. And that's how the first season of this anime ends. And that's the end of the video. Don't forget to give me a like and subscribe to my channel. I will bring more excitement anime in the future. Thanks for watching, bye.